I actually don't care at all who the individual is. I care how they behave, and I care how we can measure and predict, like, how will they behave, and then how do we reach them?
Hi there, I'm Patrick, co-founder of Flywheel, and I'm joined with my longstanding colleague Gabe to talk today about ROAS, ROI, ROC, and more. So looking forward to the conversation. Let's talk about ROAS, incrementality, return on customer. What are you thinking these days?
Yeah, I think there's still like this really big vibe shift that has to happen. You know, in talking with many of our clients, we still see just so much, obsession over the search page and what looks like what on whose device and that sort of thing. But more and more, it's just becoming impossible to get kind of a representative sample of like, what does this thing look like to the average customer? And for a very long time on Amazon search, and really on search in general, we looked at things through this lens of like, what does the average customer see? And that's like this broad-based sort of report. And like, that's also shown a lot in much of the way we've managed media historically too, which is just sort of like the average of all of the people who have searched a thing, how many people searched it, and like, what was your average CPC across all of the people who have searched that thing? And then we've had sort of, ROAS as a metric, which is again, average across all the people who have purchased divided by the average spend across all of those clicks. And it's really just like a last touch purchase. And so we're starting to get our arms around kind of how we talk about this stuff in kind of the new way, which is not these broad-based averages based on the aggregate of all of the people who have done a single action, such as clicked on a term or purchased a thing once. But now we can begin to sort of slice and dice all of these cohorts of people into different kind of audiences that you can then understand how did they arrive from watching Thursday Night Football all the way to, shopping and checking out Amazon.com to then how did they purchase, after that initial kind of touch point. And so like that's sort of the transformation. And with that, we see a lot of Amazon personalizing search results all the way down to Rufus LLM, where your search results are personalized to the thing that you've asked specifically. And so I don't really think there's any other way to do it, but look at it in kind of this new audience way.
Well, in certain ways, it's like if I look back over the last, 15 years, the two most granular building blocks that we had were ASIN and, customer search query. And we're able to then create targeting expressions that were the join of the ASIN plus the CSQ, to say, hey, I really want to reach the person who's searching for lollipops for, little kids or whatever. Now, Amazon via, Amazon Marketing Cloud has, unlocked the idea of, a CID. Who is the customer? And they've done it in a privacy first way so that we don't have to, wrangle an API, and it, keeps us out of trouble because we're going to see aggregate information. So then it's sort of, that actually becomes more granular in my mind than the CSQ is thus a component of the CID. So now we are building with, we still have ASIN, and then your join is then the customer. But we can't look at, I can't look up Gabe, but I can look up, I want to find a cohort of 500 Gabes. If I'm a brand, I want to reach those people. And what is the best way? And then to your point, not just thinking of it as, hey, what's my return on the query that my, 500 Gabes are querying, but the actual customer, him or herself. And so that becomes very interesting.
Yeah. And so like one of the things that I think makes this harder to grasp is like something like a search term is like very tangible, like you can do it yourself. And so the challenge that you have now is like a marketer, as somebody who like has spent a lot of time in like a very traditional marketing sense, getting a degree in it. You think about these groups of people as like these cohorts who are like, they might be moms, they might have children under X age, they're in a household income of this size, like they live in this place. And like, it's very easy to grasp and like make a picture of that. But now what's happening, there's really kind of this data democratization, which is like, I actually don't care at all who the individual is. I care how they behave, and I care how we can sort of measure and predict how will they behave, and then how do we reach them. And so it's harder because you can't kind of build this straw man, but what you actually get is outcomes that are significantly more effective because you're reaching the people who are actually shopping and actually converting. Because somebody who's buying $30 worth of sour candy, they might have children in their house, or they might be going on a 22-mile run. Sure. And so being able to reach who's most likely to is more effective. If you blur the edges, you get to reach more customers. And then it doesn't matter how I myself search. You just want to find me wherever I am.
if somebody wanted to have the traditional brand approach of, hey, I care about whatever gender, whatever age person, and that's who they want to reach, well, you can also do that too. To your point, like the behavioral way of reaching folks, tends to be much more performant. And in many ways, like I look at like the output of if I'm able to sort of reach folks based off of the behaviors, and then I can then retroactively measure and figure out who they were. And then I can come up with like that sort of narrative construct. And so it's sort of the inverse of how folks normally do it. And it's sort of ladder up from the most granular as opposed to top down and push the skew.
Exactly. And like you can see so much more when you do it this way, and you like get a better picture of how your dollars are working, because suddenly the dollars that you're spending on upper funnel sort of, you can zoom in and say, okay, the first search that somebody performs on Amazon versus the last search and all the searches in between, you can then sort of begin to redistribute the sales credit to all of those different touch points, which then moves us out of this kind of last touch view of the world and into this multi-touch view, but also gives you the ability to measure true CAC, which looks very different. And so then it further educates this conversation that you'd want to have around how much does it take to actually acquire a customer, and then how much are they worth. And so if you're in health and household today, their average CPC is about $3, but their average cost to acquire a new customer is 20. And so if you look at an ASP of a single item that they sell, their ASP is about $14.50. Suddenly what happens is like the math looks a little scary. You're like, wait a second, okay, I spent $20 to acquire a customer, and their first purchase was only $14.50, really average of about $16. Some people were building basket. But then what you have is with AMC, the ability to now look at their behavior afterwards. And so what we then can do on this, for the same brand, we can say, okay, the new customers are worth an average of about $23 over a year. The loyal customers, those who are coming back, are worth about $70. Then you can start to pull on all the strings of how much does it cost to maintain that customer and keep them loyal or turn them into a loyal customer. And like, it's so much harder to grasp than a search term or a customer search query. But it's like actually how you do the thing effectively in the future. And so it's really how do we like better report on it and tell that story.
Well, I mean, I just see my own behavior. I start buying something and it's just, it's like bird seed. Like, we have a lot of birds. It's great. The kids love watching them, and like, you fill it up. I had an pileated woodpecker today. It was like right next to my house. Like the thing's the size of a chicken. And it was awesome. But like the bird seed, I buy so much bird seed. And I looked up the other day because they give me the flag of like how many times you buy it. And I'm like, man, Wagner's, you did all right. You're not even a client. I think I clicked on one ad, like, you get a couple of bluebirds and, and then you keep buying it. It's just like, it's crazy, like how good Amazon is at repeat purchases. Because it's like, if I think about like brick and mortar, okay, I find great birdseed, and then and let's say I buy it at Target, and then I'm, then going into a Kroger or Safeway or whatever. And then I'm like, oh, I need birdseed. And it's like, oh, whatever's at shelf, it's good enough. And that's what I buy, because you're constrained by selection. But on Amazon, the selection's always there. And so you don't switch, unless somebody goes out of stock. So assuming that the brand is in stock, like you just go back to the same SKU because like it worked. And I'm like, I want more bluebirds. So I'm going to keep buying that same birdseed. I totally agree. And it's sort of like bridging away from what did Patrick type in to the value of Patrick. And that, for the brands, I think is a very different way of thinking about stuff.
Yeah. And the thing too, it's like you see what Amazon is starting to do, what they announced, beginning of January, is the 5-year look back on retail purchases. And so we know that like many of these purchases are not as frequent as birdseed. If you're buying a new mattress or like a soundbar for your TV, like it happens over a greater period of time. And so like the first signal, of course, is like what's happening over that longer period of time. Customers may be purchasing at a greater interval than 1 year. But then like, how do you start to look backwards? I can imagine that like many people are starting to ask the question of like, okay, how long does it take to like truly acquire a customer from zero versus just the first touch point we can see 12 and a half months ago? But the way that I like to redefine brand building is just a longer attribution window. And so that may be a year or multi-year attribution window. And so it's not perfect. You can't really measure it quite yet, but I can imagine that isn't where sort of the whole industry goes, which is how do you measure all of the touch points going back a very long time that culminate in this purchase? Because I know myself, a bed frame, for example, I was advertised by Thuma, which is a brand who sells a Lincoln Logs type bed frame. And it took them years to get me, but then they got me, and that was an $800 to $1,000 bed frame. And it worked because I move every year in DC. It's easy to click it in and click it out.
That's great. So so from a product perspective, what are you thinking about sort of, building on top of this?
measure than manage is really how we think about it. First, kind of a really good way of measuring like where are all of the customers in the different places in the funnel. It can be tough to articulate this from we're used to kind of like a really granular search term perspective. But actually, if you start to, qualify where customers based on their behavior into these buckets, we look at it through this framework of OAIPL, which is opportunity, awareness, interest, purchase, and then loyalty. And then so like, have they ever heard about your brand? Yes or no? Have they ever been to your brand's PDP? Yes or no? Have they ever performed a search? Have they ever purchased? Have they ever repurchased? And so thinking about it that way, you can then sort of measure how many people are in each bucket. How much does it cost to move somebody through the different funnel stages? What is the most effective media? How do you reach those people? And then how many people fall off, or how many people do you need to re-reach? And then whether it's purchase or loyalty, how many people do you need to nurture to keep them repurchasing? Then it becomes an audience building exercise where you determine sort of like how fuzzy do you want the edges so that you can sort of maximize the total number of customers or balance that with the efficiency of the dollars that you have. You then sort of manage against those cohorts and figure what are the knobs that I turn, both from like a audience creation standpoint and a targeting perspective on the DSP side, which includes, STV, especially live sports is really where a lot of brands are going, but also on sponsored ads too, where you get that audience bid boost. And so we built the audience bid boosting where you can say, hey, I want to reach customers who may have shown awareness of the brand, but I want to get them interested in visiting the PDPs or whatever. Let me bid much more on my sponsored ads so that they show up to these customers.
Got it. Okay. Well, that's a fun one. And all right, wrapping up. What's the big running event you have?
Big running event is the Extraterrestrial Highway Area 51K. So flying out to the mountains in Nevada to run along the highway dressed in lime green in the middle of the night next to Area 51.
And how long is it? 51K?
51K. So that is about 32 miles of running in the middle of the night. And so hopefully kind of sunsets, moon is out, and the desert will be cool at that point.
Well, I hope you're not abducted.
Thank you. Or if I am, I hope that it's by the starting line.
Fair. Well, enjoy. Good luck. And I can't wait to hear a race report.
Awesome. Thank you, Patrick.
All right. See ya.